to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It is nasty season here. Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by two of the nastiest gentlemen I know, Matthew Betz and Jason Moore.
The nastiest. I mean, how many times are we going to hit that drop today?
Oh, that will. I'm going to put the over under at 32 and a half. 32
over.
and a half. You're taking the over?
Oh, hammer it.
All right. We're off to a hot start for a nasty episode. Jeremy, hit it.
I feel like of all the things we do on this show, it kind of comes down to this. Can you get these right? And the fact is, the math says we probably won't get these picks right today.
Yeah, but when you do, it's valuable. And we got a couple of them right last year. I know Mike's
That's
two.
True.
Mike came with two players last year that both were very relevant for fantasy football last year. Jordan Mason, and who was the other one?
Rico.
Of course. Of course it was Rico Dowdle, his love affair. So, yeah, I mean, the names that we bring up today, maybe you haven't heard of them, or you've probably heard of them, but they don't sound like important pieces. But there are pathways, and there are, green flags that are pointing towards something that might really surprise you and be valuable from the dumpster.
These are beyond deep sleepers. These are names that are at the end of your bench. You drafted in the fourth round, or they've been sitting on your waiver wire. You picked them up because of camp news. One of those things. And so I think at the end of the day, we're trying to find windows of opportunity. Like one of the themes that I found in the players that I picked for my Nasty Boys is just, I think a year from now, this roster looks completely different. And maybe they have an opportunity in this year. So we're going to be talking all things nasty and give you some deeper names. And there's some undrafted free agents that maybe we'll mention, but I just think at the end of the day, like there's a lot of interesting day three picks. And I want to quickly ask, is that just true because we're in this part of the season, or is that true because of 2025? Like there's a good crop of day three picks. I can't figure it out.
It is more than likely because we are in this part of the season. Preseason hasn't happened. Rookies especially they always win the off season. And so no one's been cut from the rosters. We could talk about Xavier Restrepo right now because he's on the team and he's a good wide receiver. But then if he gets cut a month from now and doesn't make the roster, then obviously it's nastier.
I also think, I don't know if you guys feel this, it feels like everybody is hurt right now as well.
Yeah,
like
all the rookies.
There's so many hamstring, groin injuries. I mean, groinindex.com is probably the most visited URL on the internet the last week, or it should be. And so as a result, I'm like, okay, I mean, if there's an injury that opens up on the depth chart, like I could see this guy making the team. I could see him getting some snaps. So I think it makes some of these more nasty boys dart throws that if there is an injury in front of them, then they have an opportunity. But it definitely feels like we're off to that part of training camp where in the first 2 weeks, everybody's kind of getting back into shape and getting back into, the swing of things. And as a result, acclimation injuries are happening.
If you want to subscribe to the show on YouTube, I was informed by Brooks, our producer, that we were about to hit the 20K mark, and we go all through the season. So this isn't just off-season talk. Every single week, we'll be delivering a Dynasty podcast. We also have some special series on the main podcast. Jason, I know that you've gotten to work on some of those as well. Little mini series. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's every day right now.
It's just the tips. I mean, it's the Fantasy Footballers, just the tips. Special summer series going out on Saturdays. But yeah, check out YouTube. Subscribe to the Fantasy Footballers. The just the tips is in that. Search for the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty show. This show, get us up over that 20,000 mark. I know we are not predominantly a YouTube show here, but it's cool to see that the YouTube crowd is growing there. We're more usually RSS pocket, audio podcasts.
And Brooks, all the time, he will grab questions. We had a voicemail question last week that we try to get from people that are watching the show on YouTube sometimes, also on Discord. So, yeah, make sure that you check out the YouTube. I had a quick question before we got too nasty here. And it's kind of nasty because we're talking about older running backs or veteran running backs. And this question is, which running backs do you expect to get out to a hot start that might gain some value in the first month or so in Dynasty? Because we know the trends, the life cycle of certain running backs, that the older guys nobody wants. And yet when you're in season, these guys can gain a ton of value. I feel like James Conner has been traded 5 times the last 5 years in every league because we discount him. Nobody wants him. Everybody lowballs the offers, and then he's good.
Everybody's going to want him this year because he is good. And, the nice thing about James Conner is he starts the season healthy, which that's really been his Achilles heel, is just, he misses games. But when he's out there for games, he's been great. You combine that with an unbelievably good opening schedule. The Cardinals have the number 1 strength of schedule projected against running backs. They open on the road against the Saints. They're favored by 5.5. They're at home against Carolina, which was the easiest run defense last year. They're favored by 4.5. 2 weeks later, they're favored by 2.5 home against Seattle. Favored by 5.5 against Tennessee. The Titans are mostly a dumpster fire. Indianapolis Colts. So the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, Conner should get off to a hot start. And at that point, when you're a month into the season, your dynasty leagues will have separated themselves to some people are going to start thinking, okay, it's not going to be for me this year. I'm going to be selling. Some people are going to be like, wow, I'm 4-2. I'm going to the playoffs. I'm 5-1. I could really use another, go push themselves to a championship, and you can get something for James Conner. Whereas right now, this off season, you're not trading in a dynasty league James Conner for much of anything. It's got to be when push comes to shove and someone's running back gets injured and Conner is really hot.
Jason, after week 2, I'm going to put a reminder to reach out to you and Mike and Dino Jr. because I have James Conner.
Okay.
I'm looking to rebuild. So if we want to, talk after that Carolina game when he inevitably goes for 20 fantasy points, that would be great. The Broncos, also another team to get off to a great schedule here with the Titans favored by over a touchdown, the Colts, Chargers, Bengals. We'll see on the Eagles, but then the Jets, the Giants, Dallas, a lot of really nice matchups there.
Who's it for? You got to
J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins to start. I mean, that's at least what I don't even want to say it's hype right now, but that's kind of, they're saying out of Denver, Dobbins is kind of in the lead as far as the quote unquote RB1 role. But we know they're going to use a committee anyway in Denver with Sean Payton. But I do think, just kind of like James Conner, with thinking about J.K. Dobbins' injury history, and we saw this a little bit last year where he kind of faltered a little down the stretch. If there's going to be value for him, I think it's going to be early in the season. So Dobbins is another guy I think fits in the same bucket. Obviously not as prolific as a scorer as James Conner, but same thing, nice schedule. He'll have some value early on, I think.
I think he's an easy player to also go after the RJ Harvey and say, hey, do you want to just lock up this backfield? And, there might be games where it is Harvey early on. The main talk recently has been, they got to see in pass protection. I always just kind of pass that information on. It's okay, I don't really care about that for fantasy. I care about who is getting early downs. And it seems like right now we can project J.K. Dobbins has the lead there. So for this first month stretch of the season,
I think that's so important, Kyle, what you just said, because we say a lot of times a target is so much more valuable than a carry. But then you come out and say, I care more about who's out there on first and second down, and people think that you are contradicting yourself, which you are in no way contradicting yourself. The whole third down back air quotes thing, they catch their passes not on third down. Obviously if it's 3rd and 20 and you throw a little check down, whatever. But you did a study a while ago about how little actual pass catching totals are from third down. Obviously you have to get to third down
right
before you can even start accumulating stats. And also I've always thought that the pass protecting adage is a little bit overblown. I mean, you want a back that's out there for every down. Great. That's true. If a guy really can't pass protect and can't be out there in certain situations, that's bad. That's true. However, I want my running back catching passes, not staying into pass block. You don't get anything for pass blocking. And bad pass blockers who are good pass catchers, those guys actually have had a lot of success in the NFL for fantasy because what they do, instead of making them pass block, is they leak them out and they're the safety valve. So anyways, go on.
Yeah, you don't want high pass block rates for your running back because they're literally wasting opportunities where they could have been running a route. It's the same thing with the tight end, right? We don't want them in their pass blocking. They could be great at it, but it's taking away an opportunity. But what Jason mentioned, as you go through the downs, the targets per route run for a running back goes down for every single down as you move forward. They're less and less involved. And then intuitively, the downs start all over, right?
Right.
You get a first down on second or third, it starts all over. So you want the guy like J.K. Dobbins who's going to be in there early, and they can still catch passes on first and second down. In fact, it's actually easier for them to do that because the defense doesn't really know what's coming. On third down, they kind of know. It's a little bit easier to be able to guess what that is. I wanted to just throw out a couple more veteran running backs and just get your all's temperature take on Isiah Pacheco and Aaron Jones, because they're not the sexiest name in Dynasty. Pacheco's in a contract year. Jones got the extension, but they brought in Jordan Mason. They both have great schedules. I mean, with the Chiefs, you're always going to get a good schedule, but I feel like both of them could get off to a really great start, and yet I have a hard time saying I'm really bullish on them for the rest of the season. So any takes on those, Jay?
Yeah, the Pacheco one is interesting, right? He was a my guy going into last year because he was going to have all the work. He was going to be a 3-down guy, and I was so happy 2 weeks in. He was one of the top running backs in fantasy football. He was used on all 3 downs. He was catching passes, and then he gets injured pretty much for the whole season, comes back at the end and looks terrible, not explosive, not like he was before. They brought in Kareem Hunt, who they used around the goal line, they used in the passing situation, and now come into this season, there's 2 things that are true that are at odds with each other. One, there are camp reports talking about Pacheco looks like his old self, and that's super important because Kareem Hunt wasn't good last year. He was just as good as the injured version of Pacheco. But the other truth is Kareem Hunt, they brought him back. He is still there, and to start last year, he wasn't on the roster. And I think for this Chiefs offense, they don't always put out the most explosive play every play. They put out what's going to help them get the next series of first downs and be reliable and slowly and ugly go down the field and score. And Kareem Hunt did that just fine last year. So Pacheco getting off to a hot start, I think, is extremely important. I think he's a player where I'm going to be out on him really, really early if 2 weeks into the season he is not being used around the goal line and ceding a bunch of passing work to Kareem Hunt. But if in those first 2 weeks of the season it looks like, oh, he is looking like what he went into last season about, I'd be pretty excited. So the schedule is very helpful for that and gives me a little bit of hope for Pacheco, who has mostly been off my board.
Yeah, I think the way you said it, Jay, is perfect, where it's like, I think he's going to have every opportunity to take control of this job, and if he is healthy and if he is his old self and all those things, man, like when you think about this Chiefs team, right, and like the most logical answer, it's probably Pacheco, right? Like Hunt was almost out of the league basically, and he'll get you 3 yards here and there, but like he can't do what Pacheco can do. And I know some people are kind of excited about, well, what if Mitchell gets snaps, and what about if the 7th round rookie gets a role? We do that every year with the Chiefs guys. Like, I think Pacheco, and he's been the first guy up in camp through every drill, so he is the starter. It's just a matter of, like, does he capitalize or not? And in Dynasty, it's a little bit of a tricky situation because none of these guys have a contract after this year. So it's more of like if you're a contender, we talked about this last week. I think sending a second or something like that for Pacheco, if you're a win-now team, just makes so much sense in the world. Honestly, that second's probably not going to hit anyway, if we're being honest. Like, you might get the starting running back on the Chiefs, who's been a bell cow when healthy over the last year and a half or so. So I love that call with the Chiefs. And then on the Vikings, this one's so tough because it's really hard right now not to just listen to any other content or scroll Twitter or whatever and hear the Vikings relentlessly talking about 1A, 1B, split backfield with Jordan Mason.
Uh-huh.
And when you think about their skill sets, I think it does kind of make sense where like Aaron Jones before this past year has always been a guy who's excelled with efficiency, never really been a true, every down type of back during those seasons in Green Bay. And that's when he's been most effective. He's coming off career highs in rushing. I think that's highly unlikely to repeat. And I think the move with Mason makes a lot of sense there. So I'm not saying I don't want Aaron Jones. I just think Jordan Mason might have more value than I think the public thinks. And this is an offensive line that a lot of people have evaluated as like a top 5, top 6 unit here. And I think McCarthy's going to do great as the quarterback. But like there is a world that exists where he's not awesome, and they do lean on the run more than we realize. So yeah, I think both backs are awesome. Kind of ambiguous situation here to target if you're a contender.
The two things that I care about with Aaron Jones is, does he maintain a healthy target share for a running back? And last year, he was third among all running backs in first read target share, which for a running back is really hard to get. He was over 10%. And then he saw over 60% of their carries inside the 5. Those two things, if you are seeing first read targets at the running back position and you're getting the goal line work, and he's still that guy, then it's like, I want those first 5 weeks of the season at Chicago, Atlanta, Cincinnati, at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, and then they get a bye, and then it's a rough stretch. So just kind of like circle Aaron Jones as a player. If you have him and you're a contender, then you can ride those first couple weeks. But if things go south, I'm looking at a schedule moving forward as an older player where things could change. Now, obviously, we're projecting what teams we think are good right now. And there's going to be some teams that we just listed earlier. We're like, man, this team is not so good anymore, and the schedule changes and the defenses changes. You know, Jason, what do we usually wait, like 5 or 6 weeks to put out our stuff?
4 weeks in, we will put out some of the data as far as strength of schedule going forward in the season, when we feel like we've got a slight grasp of how teams are in 2025. And then that will continue to get adjusted and updated as the season goes along. Not only because we have more data, we find that the previous 5 weeks is probably even more indicative. Like once you get late into the season, I pretty much don't look at the full season because injuries have happened and things. Like, what is this team doing recently? So once you have like a trailing 3 or 4 weeks, that's when you can know, okay, I see the tendencies of this team is bad against tight end, or they're locking down the running backs, or whatever it is. And we'll also add in, if you've got the Foot Clan tools, if you're, a Foot Clan member, we have the schedule adjusted, which actually it's so valuable. It is so good because usual strength of schedule is just like, well, who did you play? Like, oh, you were bad against tight ends, but it's like your schedule, you just played Trey McBride and you just played Brock Bowers for the first 2 weeks. So it's like, oh yeah, you're bad against tight ends. Maybe you're not. Maybe you just played the best tight end. So when you adjust for who they played and what those teams' averages are, and do they give more or less, those tools are awesome, man.
Yeah, we're about to get out of here's what happened last year, here's what we're projecting, and then we're going to get into September where we actually see the defenses and everybody gets to adjust. So I love that part of our tools, that it kind of continues to grow and learn, and it adds what we do on the show. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get super nasty.
Nasty Boys of Summer.
So we throw out this term all the time, and it can be different, and you guys feel free to say, hey, I differ a little bit. I remember when we first started doing the show a couple years ago, my goal was I want to find the dirtiest player that's not even on a roster. Actually, I don't even want them to make the roster. I want them to be that bad. just out of the NFL. So on the street kind of stuff. But I've had a change of heart. And I do have a theme this year for my guys, that they've kind of all been on these journeys of players. So we'll talk about that in a second. We did do a Dynasty bench warfare episode, Betz and I did, about a month ago. So we talked about players that are fringe, players that at the end. We probably won't name every single player that you're thinking of right now, but all of the depth charts, everything we have, our team opportunity charts, they're there in the Ultimate Draft Kit. I did want to give some honorary mentions of people in the past, because the people that have gone before us, those are the ones that stir me to find this year's. And the one that I put on here was a couple years ago. Brashad Perryman won me a title in a Dynasty League.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the dirtiest old man that's ever been super young, but looked like he was 80 years old.
He came into the league with the most receding hairline I've ever seen.
It was gone by his rookie year.
Jarrett Patterson. I won a championship with that guy. Oh, yeah.
Wasn't Perryman, though, a first-round pick?
Yeah. Yeah, the Ravens. They decided that that's where they wanted to spend their capital.
Can I throw one more your way?
Yeah.
This is if you just started playing, this will not, land with anybody. Do you guys remember Kamar Aiken?
Oh yeah.
No. Wow.
Ravens wide receiver.
Kamar
He
Aiken.
had a nickname on our show, Jason.
I think Flacco was still starting back then, but I started him in the fantasy playoffs years ago. You guys started Hassan Haskins a couple years ago for the Titans. I mean, there's nasty boys every year.
Okay, Kamar Aiken. I remember him as a Raven. That's the memory. I mean, Gary Barnidge was that tight end for the Browns one year.
What a season!
Maximum Barnidge. There's just players
Barnidge.
That was fun. We mentioned that Mike nailed Rico Dowdle and Jordan Mason last year, and so each one of us is going to bring 2 to the table. At the very end, we might hit a couple of honorary mention names, some really deep names. My personality, I'm just letting you guys know, is that I love a good deep dive. About anything in life. And I mean anything. Wikipedia, I love it. So for some of these players, I've learned way too many facts about their personal lives and their real lives that I'm going to kind of step back. So Betz, I'm going to let you go first so I can gather myself.
Okay. Normally on this show, I'm not that excited about these names because if we're being completely honest, a lot of these are not going to work out. I'm actually very excited about Sean Tucker.
Oh, baby.
Running back for the Bucs. And the reason that I'm excited is maybe because I've been talking to Kyle for the last 8 months or something. But right now, obviously, this is Bucky's backfield. There's no question there. He's the RB1, year 2 player, all those things. We love Bucky. I'm just saying, if Bucky got hurt, there's been rumblings that the team is not in love with Rachaad White. We saw Bucky take over the backfield last year. And I'm not saying that it would be only Sean Tucker if Bucky Irving got hurt, but I think you would see Sean Tucker in the lead ball carrier role and maybe Rachaad White still kind of in his change of pace. We just talked about it, third down role. And shout out to Matthew Berry, one of the greats in our game and in our industry. He puts out an article every March from the NFL Combine. One of his notes and nuggets, and it's things he hears. So it's not like he's reporting that this is going to happen or whatever. It's just like, people are having a few drinks. People are talking. Here's kind of what I'm hearing. Seems that there's some rumors that they aren't in love with Rachaad White and that Sean Tucker could overtake him by season's end for RB2. And we already saw it last year in a very small sample, but Tucker was awesome when he touched the ball last year. Among 72 running backs with 60-plus opportunities, 2nd yards per touch. And, Kyle's a sicko, did a deep dive on every touch that he had in a film standpoint. And the dude was electric. Yeah, but he was good when he did it. But, Sean Tucker, remember going back to college, he fell in the NFL draft because of a neck injury. And so he went undrafted. But his production profile, from an analytical standpoint, was off the charts. So he was awesome in college, fell because of injury, and he finally is healthy. He's on the team and locked in to the depth chart. So he's definitely making the roster, which is key here. Not true for some of these other guys. But yeah, Sean Tucker, if he's somehow available on your waiver wire, scoop him up immediately.
He's one of those players that when on a per touch basis, that's what's exciting. And sometimes it's hard to extrapolate those things and say, okay, well, here's what it's going to be, especially on some of these games where he's just the mop up duty role. But he did have a game, what was it, against the Saints that he just went ballistic. Yeah. And you could see why. And I remember the scouting when we did that a couple of years ago, we all liked him. And then when he goes undrafted, we're like, well, I guess we can't really do anything with that. Even though your breakout age is 18.9, even though the film's good, you're definitely smaller, but over 200 pounds. Okay, there's enough there. So what you're saying is, if this is a system with multiple backs, which it was last year, who's to say that Tucker can't overtake White? Or if an injury happens to Bucky or Rachaad White, then he's the obvious guy and he was good enough in those touches.
Exactly.
Okay. I like it. And I have him a lot in a lot of places, especially best ball. But if this goes poorly, let's say Sean Tucker's just out of the league, are you going to blame me?
I mean, he's not going to be out of the league this year.
Okay.
He's currently RB3 on the depth chart and pretty soon RB2.
That's huge for the Nasty Boys. That's really big. Jason.
Yes. What?
You have a running back. You have a running back.
I do have a running back. I've got another one. Who is potentially 3rd on the depth chart, but I believe he is currently already 2nd on the depth chart. And I hate to say this out loud, but I presume, and I mean, it's so awful to say this, I do presume he will start games this season, and that is nasty, and Kyle's eyes went up.
What?
What
are you saying?
Shipley, I'm saying that Saquon Barkley is incredible. He is awesome. He just led the league in rushing. He could have broken the all-time NFL rushing record if he really played in Week 17. And so when that happens, I believe he had 417 total touches between playoffs and regular season. Like, we have a lot of data, and I know I've seen it skewed every which direction. I've seen it, looked at to where it's like, see, it's not that big a telling point, or data skewed to make it seem like, oh, if you get this, you can't have a good season next year. The truth is always more gray than those two black and white statements. However, the truth is absolutely that, the last 25 years, there's only one leader every year. 22 of the 25 had regression the next year. The majority of those are large-scale regression, and the majority of those, as far as reason, is not inefficiency. It's usually missed games. On the flip side, it's true that, like, pretty much if you're going to lead the league in rushing, you didn't miss any games. And so that's true of Saquon. I mean, he missed Week 17, but he was, he wasn't injured. They chose to have him not play in Week 17. This is an awesome defense with an awesome offensive line. Anybody would do well here, which is why Saquon did so well. He is awesome. But if he were to miss time, whoever is next up, and I don't think it's A.J. Dillon, is going to have massive success. If Kenneth Gainwell was still on the roster, he had 100 opportunities last year. He's not on the roster anymore. That elevates Will Shipley up. But if he was still on the roster, I'd probably be bringing his name up right now, saying, look, the backup to Saquon this year, I think, is probably going to be pretty important. This is a very successful team that's going to be winning and going to have easy rushing lanes while you try to stop A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts with the best offensive line in the league. And it's also a player, in Saquon who has missed games more often in seasons than he played the whole season. And he's 28. He's older. So to talk more specifically, less about Saquon, because I don't want to, I hope Saquon doesn't miss games. I hope he, is awesome, plays 17, is healthy, and breaks the NFL rushing record this year. I just think it is less likely at his age and coming off of that volume. So if you don't know who Will Shipley is, or you don't remember, Will Shipley several years ago was the number one, 5-star high school recruit, supposed to be a sensational superstar, went to Clemson, and then at Clemson was pretty darn good. Had a career 2,700 rushing yards, 31 rushing touchdowns, kind of a jack of all trades, very good in the receiving game as well, 85 total receptions. He had just under a 13% reception share at Clemson, which is elite. And he didn't do anything his rookie year. Like last year, we can't take anything good or bad. I mean, I guess you could take something bad. You could say he didn't play his way ahead of Kenny Gainwell and, whatever. But this was a team that clearly did not need him. They went on to win the Super Bowl in dominant fashion. But I think he's a really good player. I definitely believe he is a better running back than Kenneth Gainwell. And some of the early beat reporters, Jimmy Kempski has been talking about, this is one of the camp battles they're watching. Who's that backup running back to? And there's been a lot of talk about Shipley having some good moves, just completely torching Campbell, their first-round pick, having wheel route touchdowns in camp, having touchdown runs in the red zone work. So, he is involved right now in camp, and he's showing out and looking good. Obviously, he's irrelevant while Saquon Barkley is there. Even if he gets what Kenny Gainwell got and gets 100, opportunities spread throughout the season, that's not going to matter enough for fantasy football. But Saquon is coming off an outrageous amount of wear and tear on his body that ran deep all the way to the Super Bowl. And historically speaking, those guys don't just magically get to play 34 plus playoffs, 38 games in a row without missing time. And Will Shipley, if I'm the Saquon manager in a dynasty league, I'm going to make sure I've got Will Shipley on my roster because he's not going to cost anything right now. But that's an insurance policy that I believe you want to have. And A.J. Dillon is, he's not good. I don't even think he's a lock to make the roster. It's, it was a 1-year deal they gave him with $167,000 guaranteed money. So to me, Will Shipley did nothing his rookie year, is a good player. If he gets opportunity, he'll be excellent for fantasy football.
I love the take. I know this is obviously dynasty focused, but Will Shipley is my most drafted player in best ball this year because he goes in like the 17th round of like every draft because everybody just assumes what happened last year will happen again.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously as an Eagles fan, like I'm hoping Saquon repeats what happened last year. The truth is it's so hard to repeat that level of play year over year with that amount of work, like Jason said. So, Shipley might be on waiver wires, especially in like shallow leagues. He should not be because if Saquon, and he doesn't even have to like miss a ton of time. Like even if you get 2 or 3 starts this year out of Shipley behind that offensive line with a team that should score a lot, he's going to be ranked as a top 24 weekly running back if he is the guy and if he, is able to get that opportunity with Saquon out. So yes, Will Shipley, and Mike actually liked Shipley kind of a lot as a prospect. I remember talking about him last year. So any running back that has that ability to handle early down work, but also see pass catching upside definitely is a target. So yeah, Will Shipley, I think is an awesome nasty boy this year.
He had a 13% reception share at Clemson. Anything above 12% is elite for a prospect. And he was kind of like a do-it-all guy where he did kick returns, receiving, obviously rushing. Also did Taekwondo in high school.
Thank goodness.
See?
Adjust the ranks.
I'm telling you, these things do change a little bit. And there's going to be somebody out there that hears that and go, man, I really like that. That changes how I look at Shipley. 65 total snaps last year. You can't look at his film last year.
I promise you someone's out there and they're going to go, Taekwondo, that's for losers. And it's going to change it for the negative, Kyle.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I thought
Where's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Where's the Muay Thai? Taekwondo.
You know that stuff. I don't know that world at all.
Neither do I.
Jason would be the one person of this group I wouldn't fight. I'd fight you, Betz.
Okay.
I would love to. Betz and Borg, you guys have been like this brotherhood over the last 6, 7, 8 years, however long you guys have been doing this. We've got to have you two in a ring. For the people, just see Borg v. Betz. You're tall too.
Kyle would never recover. Okay, just for Kyle's health and his family. He's got 2 young kids, a lovely wife. I can never do that to Kyle.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make this happen for charity. We'll pay for charity
for the kids. Yeah, this is like a Make-A-Wish thing for Betz. Is that what we're doing?
Stop. Move on.
Your families will not be invited because I want this to be a brutal bloodbath.
Yeah, I don't want to fight Jason. I don't want to do that.
All right, Kyle, who you got? Who's your...
I'm going to throw out Torrey Horton of the Seattle Seahawks. They took him in the 5th round.
Is the coffee place?
Not the coffee place. We don't have that in the South, by the way.
We don't have it where I live either. I think isn't it like Canadian? What is? I don't even know what it's called. Tony Hortons? I don't know what I'm saying. I just know that there's.
I think it's Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons?
Yeah, it is Tim Hortons. Tony Horton, isn't he the P90X guy?
Oh yeah, he's the P90X guy.
Also loves coffee. That guy.
Also does not play in the NFL, but Torrey Horton out of Colorado State has a weird journey because when you look at his production profile, which you can find on our site, you look at his junior year at Colorado State and you go, man, he crushed. Absolutely crushed. 3.51 yards per team pass attempt is off the charts good. His dominator rating that year was 57% of the team's total receiving yards and touchdowns. Just incredible. Stays in school for 2 more years and then has a knee injury this past October, which killed his draft stock. So you have to kind of ask the question with some of these players like this, like, what do I do with his production profile? Because early in his career, he was good at Nevada, good when he transferred, good breakout age. You would say this is a good prospect, but then when he falls to the 5th round and he's a little bit older, you're just like, okay, what do I do with this player? 6'3", 196, and ran a 4.41, which is pretty good for his height in terms of 40 time. He's a weird player to project from that stance, but then you look at some of the camp hype, which we always say, okay, take it with a grain of salt. He's, quote, turning heads. He's been running with the ones for the past week. the third straight practice. Those are the things that matter. If it's just one that pops up, I always joke it doesn't matter. But Sam Darnold kind of came out and said, yeah, he could have a spot on this team. And he also noted that he wasn't healthy. Like he says, I was 70% healthy from my knee surgery when I ran the combine. Now, a lot of people can say that stuff, but a 4.41 at 6'3 is really good for being at, quote, 70 to 80%. And you look at this depth chart, I don't know what the offense is going to look like. The biggest question has been, why do they have 2 slot wide receivers playing on the outside with JSN and Cooper Kupp? I think JSN can do it. I think he has the skill set against man coverage. But Torrey Horton seems like he would be the long-term solution ahead of MVS or Jake Bobo or whoever else. And so it wouldn't shock me if in year 1, he becomes a starting player in 3 wide. And right now I feel like as a 5th-round draft pick, it didn't cost you anything to get him. And hopefully he's not out there on your waiver wire.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but Schneider, who is from Denver and watches a lot of Colorado ball, he was trying to get our ears. He's like, I'm telling you, Torrey Horton's going to be good. He's like, he is good. You need to get him. He is a believer, as one who watches a lot of Colorado ball and is a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's all right. Love you, Schneider. Just kidding. No, I actually think he's actually a really nice fit too, like in the offense. Like you think about the Saints last year, and I'm saying that because of Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, when they were off to that incredible start and Jason almost had to shave his head. The way that they were playing, right, was a lot of run the ball, play action, deep shots on like crossers and stuff like that. He's got the juice to get downfield, and if his only competition to get on the field as the third wide receiver in that deep threat role is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, no disrespect to MVS, it's not the most, scary depth chart to overcome. So for a day 3 guy, I think the numbers as far as his production and everything suggest he might be more talented than that. Of course, context is needed, right? Like Kyle said, he didn't go to the most, high profile SEC schools in the country. But yeah, I think there's something there with Torrey Horton. I'm worried about Sam Darnold for sure, but maybe he is just that good now. Who knows? So yeah, if he's out there, definitely scoop him up.
I saw that during I was watching an interview with him where he was talking about his recovery process, and they were asking him like, hey, you're getting all these first team reps. And then Reek Woolen, their cornerback, walks by and in the middle of the thing just yells out Jerry Rice Jr., which is like, he's just calling a compliment, which is kind of sad because Jerry Rice does have a son, Brendan Rice, in the NFL who, was a 7th-round pick last year and no one cares. So Reek Woolen's
not
just
a nasty boy.
He's just dunking on, Brendan Rice, just saying like, I forgot you were even in the league. So whatever.
I saw Brendan Rice drop a couple passes in camp.
My only highlight was him catching one.
Oh,
which
fantastic.
Is so funny that like that's the way that it works though, right? Is now what's going on with this player? I saw one highlight. I guess he was doing well, and then Jason sees the exact opposite.
Can we freaking stop? I don't know. Listen, you're probably listening to this show. The people that are down there on the field that are recording practice on their phones. Okay, that's awesome. I love that for you. I'm happy for you. I love your reporting. You do great work. There's one thing you got to stop doing. You have got to stop posting videos of a wide receiver catching a pass when there's not even, this isn't in 7-on-7, let alone 11-on-11. This isn't even in 1-on-1. This is against nobody. There's no defenders. And they run down and they throw, like I saw one with Bo Nix to, I forget who.
I think it was Marvin Mims.
No. It was, I think it was both.
Pat Bryant.
It was Pat Bryant today. And it was like, Pat Bryant for the touchdown. And it's like, that's not a touchdown. That they're playing catch. Like you're sending a video of someone playing catch. And it wasn't even a good, I was just like, stop it. Anyways.
Listen, Jason, I hate to tell you, but that's what the people want, man.
That's not what the people want. At least one-on-one. There's got to be a defender on the field.
That's what the NFL fans want. They're like, yeah, look at Pat Bryant. Yeah, he's going to work. That's Michael Thomas right there.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man. Yes, it is actually, it's gotten worse every single year. That's why we've said at the start of training camp, like 90% of this is not going to matter. But
you guys saw how depressed I was after Falcons training camp. Like I felt like I tried to convey anything in our Slack channel, and I just walked away saying, this is the biggest load of crap. Anybody who says anything in trading camp, they have no idea, because it was just a lot of worthless one-on-ones off the side in shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like seriously like depressed.
You thought you might glean
Well, you're also a Falcons
information.
fan.
Yeah, I was going there to get something, and I came away with absolutely nothing. Let's take a break, and then we'll get nasty some more. All right, Betz, your first running back you gave us was Sean Tucker. It was a brilliant pick, maybe your best, and now you have another running back for us.
So in San Francisco, everybody this offseason has talked about, there's a lot of risk with Christian McCaffrey, the injury history. Can we talk about Isaac Rendo's injury history currently? Because the man is already injured with a shoulder injury. He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks of camp. Going back to college, he has missed a ton of time. Hamstring injuries, foot injuries. Since being in the NFL for a year, hamstring, groin, foot, hamstring, MCL and ankle, and now shoulder. It's not hard to see a world where Jordan James, the 5th round pick out of Oregon, is the RB2 behind Christian McCaffrey. And I hope McCaffrey stays healthy, because if he is, he's going to be incredible this year. But there is a world that exists where he misses time, and if that's the case, and Grendo is not the RB2, we've seen Kyle Shanahan flip the switch on us, out of nowhere. It happened last year with Jordan Mason, and I think that could be Jordan James this year. Now, he doesn't necessarily fit like the prototypical San Francisco running back that you think of, where they're highly explosive, really great athletes. Like Jordan James kind of tested like fine and everything, but he's not great in anything as far as the combine measurements go. But he did have a nice year this past year at Oregon. He didn't have the best production profile because he played behind Bucky Irving, who now we know in hindsight is very good. But the numbers from last year for James were actually very, very solid. Almost 37% of his carries resulted in a first down or touchdown. That was second in the FBS. He was 10th in the FBS in carries of 10 plus yards. So maybe he is good. Who knows? But this is more of a bet against Grendo and more of a bet to see if we can get the RB2 in San Francisco for really, really cheap this year. And to me, Jordan James is a nice bet in that scenario, because behind James and Grendo, Amir Abdullah just got signed. So there is not much depth if Grendo is missing time.
His film, if I remember, I'm looking back at our notes, is like he could fit really well in the right situation, the inside zone scheme, if he has a good offensive line and a good play caller. It's like, oh, well, this is that situation. So I have a hard time betting on the player, and yet I care more about who is this running back. And we've done this for Patrick Taylor, who's like barely hanging on in the league. And we've done it for Elijah Mitchell. We've done it for anybody. So until Kyle Shanahan is not the play caller anymore, I just want shots at the backfield. And maybe it's just 1 or 2 games. You mentioned that, but it's like maybe Grendo comes back, but Jordan James is enough, and there's enough there that I think can translate in the Shanahan system. So I like that call.
All right. Jake. I'm going to hit you with 2 of them. There we go. They are brothers of sorts. I'm taking on 2 very similar players. Second-year tight ends, both drafted in the 4th round, both that showed flashes and both that got injured last year. A lot in common. You need to know both names. I think there's potential for breakout here in either of them, but specifically one I think has a clearer path. So first up, Jatavian Sanders, JT Sanders for the Carolina Panthers. He's a 4th round pick. He was an early declare, had a solid breakout age. His yards per route run in Texas was very solid for a tight end, especially considering you're playing with Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, NFL future players. There was a time last season, when Bryce Young got back and the offense kind of figured it out, where they started putting Jatavian Sanders on the field more, and he was performing really, really well. For a rookie tight end, 5 for 49, 6 for 61, 4 for 87, 3 for 49. He had a 17-game pace over that 6-week stretch where it would have been 60 receptions, 740 receiving yards. Unfortunately, he had a neck injury and dealt with that. Right now, Tommy Trimble, his only competition for tight end, is currently on the PUP. And Camp Hype has been raving about Sanders. He's just looked great in camp. Some people saying he's the offensive MVP of camp. And so that's all great. A second-year guy who showed flashes, who's dominating this year. I pay attention to those things. However, the pathway to be really, really relevant here is very difficult. I do think he can beat Tommy Tremble when he gets back and gets healthy, but the wide receiver core here, there's a lot of mouths to feed. You've got Tet McMillan that they just drafted. You had last year's Xavier Legette. You still have Adam Thielen on the roster. Jalen Coker is there. There's how high can he get in the pecking order? Could he become the number 2 target in the offense? I doubt it. But he is still a player that certainly, these two guys that I'm bringing up, I went to the waiver wire just to see, even in deep dynasty leagues. They weren't available in any of my main dynasty leagues, but they're on the cusp. So check yours. The other guy,
I like this one.
This is the one I'm more excited about as well. Save the best for last, is Theo Johnson, another 4th-round draft pick out of Penn State. He got drafted by the New York Giants last year. And let me just tell you, one of the things we look for in tight ends to really be special, we look for athleticism. We don't look for it the same in all the other positions. You can be, you can have a slow 40 time as a wide receiver and be dominant because you're a great route runner and you're crisp and your hands are fantastic. You can be different types of athletic at different positions. But when it comes to tight end, straight up combine athleticism scores, you can't get better than Theo Johnson. His RAS score, which is kind of this average of all the athletic metrics, is a 9.99. He was the number 1 most athletic tight end drafted last year, which is great. And he had a season-ending injury in week 13. But before that, as a rookie, he had the 8th most total routes and routes per game at the tight end position, 27.5. That is the 8th most of any rookie tight end since 2006. So he's going to be out there running routes. The quarterback situation is a question mark. It's not outside of the realm of possibility that it's better this year. That Russell Wilson is better than Daniel Jones. Historically, we would have said that. Or, you know me, if Jameis Winston can just get in there before Jackson Dart takes over, Theo Johnson will go crazy. But you've got an extreme athlete who actually showed some flashes last year in his rookie season. He has the opportunity, and the depth chart is what I love here, right? Who do you have to beat out to be the number 2 target? Obviously, we know Malik locked in at a 50% target share, it feels like. But then after that, are you telling
Worthless Wandale. Worthless.
Yeah, worthless Wandale. I would much rather throw the ball to Theo Johnson. Darius Slayton's fine, but they're not going to be competing for the same type of stuff. Darius Slayton's run 9 routes down the field. Jalen Hyatt, this is not a receiving core. The New York Giants desperately need another receiving option. So if second-year super athlete Theo Johnson, steps up, I think he could break out, and he don't cost you nothing right now.
His target share, before he had that season-ending injury, his target share of the last month was 19%, which is great for any tight end to be able to say you're in that boat and say that you can get that.
The last 5 games would have been a pace of 91 targets for a tight end, for a rookie tight end.
He's also just, you mentioned the athletic stuff, 6'6", 264, and I have been watching some camp highlights of him, and he just looks bigger. Even next to Malik Neighbors, you're you are just a mammoth dude. There's a lot of tight ends over the last decade out of Penn State. Gesicki, Freiermuth, Brenton Strange, Theo Johnson, Tyler Warren. It's been a good spot. Has that been a thing, Mr. Penn State truther?
It's tight end you, obviously. Yeah, when their offense for years was resembling 1998, the way our grandfathers intended to play football. Two tight ends on the field, run the ball. That's how they play. But yeah, I actually went to a spring practice. I can't stand there and have you say tight end you. That's okay. Yeah, no,
that's Iowa.
You gonna say Miami?
Iowa. It's got to be Iowa.
Of course, it's Iowa.
But man, in person, he is an absolute giant. So if he's got that athleticism with that, frame, who knows? It could happen. Wandale, by the way, I keep like fact checking this every time I come across this research in like an article or whatever we're doing. He actually saw 140 targets last year. Like that is just so impossible to even like wrap your head around with Wandale, and it resulted in nothing.
Can I tell you what Wandale is? Wandale is the best. Like I know before pads went on, he was dominating in camp, and I was like, that makes so much sense. He is so genuinely good at getting open near the line of scrimmage. Like genuinely, his little jitterbug ability to like make separation when there's nothing there and there's no contact yet is like, oh, I could just get it to him every time. But he can't break a tackle to save his life. So it's like you get him the ball at the line of scrimmage where he can get wide open, and then he just gets tackled. I mean, this is, if you're playing in PPR leagues, okay, you can draft him, but it's like, oh, he had 12 targets, 9 receptions, 2 yards. It's like, I had a good fantasy day.
I feel like every target to Wandale is like the equivalent of an old school coach being like, 2nd and 10, let's run it here and set up 3rd and manageable. Let's get 4 yards and figure it out.
Yeah.
Wandale, all the metrics that you could find about him and separation score and all those types of things, and then you look at his EPA per target, like it actively hurt the team.
Yeah,
over the
sure.
course of the season. Like, oh, it's 2nd down, like you were saying, Betz, and let's throw a screen to Wandale. It's like, this guy's going to fall down. So, fun college player, by the way, Wandale.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Let's see.
But in the NFL...
We got Dallas Clark. We got CJ Fedorowicz, the Mad Hatter himself. George Kittle.
What a name.
TJ Hawkinson. Sam
Noah
Laporta. Eric All. R.I.P. Yeah, okay. I'm just looking at these Iowa tight ends.
Noah Fant, too, right?
Yeah, is Fant there?
I will say Miami's had some good tight ends, a little bit older, an older generation like the Jeremy Shockey generation, but a
little bit older, and then you throw up Jeremy Shockey. That's come on, man. What are you, Papa Josh? A little bit.
Man!
Look, Mike Ditka was the best tight end I ever watched. He was so good. What college tight end you? Come on.
The spreadsheets have been doing me dirty.
Jeremy Shockey.
This guy, Jeremy Shockey.
Look, I'm old enough. I played with Jeremy Shockey, but, no.
Just, I feel like 90% of our listeners might not even remember who that is, which is sad.
But pause real quick. I'm about to get to mine. Is that ever sad, Jason, that like references we give of like, even Jamal Charles, somebody like that, who's like so fun, unbelievable, and now it's like, I can't even bring him up on shows sometimes.
No, it is weird when you have references that just are too old for the average listener to even remember. But the cool thing is, and I don't think this is true for Mike, but for me, is I've forgotten most of those players anyway. So I don't bring them up. The greats, the Hall of Famers, the Jamal Charles. Okay, yeah, I'm going to remember them and LaDainian Tomlinson and, whatever. But most of the like casual average names that we really loved and played, fantasy with, I don't remember him. Who was, on this episode, you brought up someone, I don't remember him. Who was it? Who had a nickname?
Oh, man.
Kamar Aiken?
Yeah. Aiken.
Yeah, Kamar Aiken.
I think,
obviously.
I realized that we got to the point where that wide receiver class from 2014, it was like the Odell, the Mike Evans, the Sammy Watkins year. I can't use them anymore in arguments because it's over a decade.
Right.
So whenever I say over the last decade, that
they're not
group
included. How funny, because that's
that's
still
the
us.
Benchmark. Yeah, that's the group. All right. I'm going to throw this out there and just say my nasty boys that I've kind of consistently been with most of the time have been a couple Washington Commanders who next year could be near the top of the depth chart. I don't know what this team's going to look like beyond this year because in Washington, here are all the players that will be free agents in 2026. Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, and Zach Ertz. Okay? So basically the only people under contract are Luke McCaffrey, Ben Sinnott, and then these rookies, 4th rounder Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech, a wide receiver, and then running back out of Arizona, and I use Arizona very lightly because he played one game for them, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, or as he calls himself, Bill.
What? Is this
That's real?
It's real. He goes by Bill.
Bill?
Bill.
Why?
That's
Jacory?
Jacory Croskey-Merritt.
It's like Jacory's a weird name, man. I'm just going
prefers
Bill.
to call himself Bill because, in quote, I got the nickname Bill. No.
Okay.
He had a bald head when he was little, and everyone said he looked like Lil Bill from that cartoon, and he's been going by Bill ever since. So
wow.
Bill Merritt. Bill Croskey-Merritt?
Old JCM Bill.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's incredible. Lil Bill.
Like, I mean, if you watch Commanders highlights, my cross-street neighbor is a Commanders fan. He will literally call him Bill and say that's what they call him. The beat writers, they call him Bill. 7th rounder. This is more of a call of what is the depth chart, and there is a window of opportunity. Jalen Lane started at Middle Tennessee, went to Virginia Tech, had a lot of special team stuff. He's made some moves in camp that, I've seen the highlights and stuff, but just this depth chart is open beyond this year. Now, McLaurin might get worked out, and this is maybe a little bit more irrelevant, but he could find his way onto the field sooner than we think. And then JCM is just different than any other running back. You think about the guys they have on the roster, it's like Brian Robinson is not sexy at all, but around the goal line, I think they trust him. Austin Eckler is not the same player he used to be. And then it's Chris Rodriguez, who is just a pummeler. Jeremy McNichols been in the league for a long time. JCM at 5'11", 208 is just different between the tackles.
BCM.
You want to call him BCM?
BCM, yeah.
Bill, as they say.
Yeah.
Is not a yards after contact guy, but he's somebody that I think is just different than what Kingsbury has in that offense. Could he gain more touches? Sure. Is he a 7th round pick? Yeah. All of these guys are at the end of your bench, but I think he's one of those players that earlier on you would have thought he would have been higher up in running back rookie rankings. He played one game in Arizona because of eligibility stuff, and then that was it. So you didn't really get to see any type of production profile. The year before at New Mexico, he was really, really good and good as a pass catcher as well. So I think he's another name that on this depth chart, I just like this team, and I don't know who's around. Like, other than if McLaurin signs an extension, do you think any of those guys come back? Eckler, B-Rob, Debo?
They're going to look to bring in youth. I still expect McLaurin to get a contract, but we haven't really seen this new ownership regime and how they do things. So I think we're applying not Snyder onto them. So we're saying like, oh, this is a better run organization because it almost has to be. And if you're a good run organization, you'll give McLaurin a contract. But we don't know enough about how they operate yet to be, demonstrative about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good call just because, like, even if Eckler keeps his role, but B-Rob misses time, there's a chance Bill could step in as the lead ball carrier, maybe get the goal line role. So Bill's a great pickup off waiver wires if he's out there. Also, Kyle, what I'm hearing you say is not that much usage in college. There's a lot of tread on the tires.
You could take it any way you want to.
This guy is fresh. He is ready to go. So I like it.
Yeah, if they had a ton of work, you can say they handle the workload. If they didn't have any work, you can say they have a ton of tread left on the tires. It's whatever way you want.
Exactly.
Any other, Jason, you brought up Woody Marks as another name to monitor. You brought him up recently on the main show.
Yeah, that's day 3 pick running back for the Houston Texans, while Nick Chubb looks like he is not going to get to former glory. Joe Mixon is injured. Dameon Pierce is injured. So he's getting opportunities there, and he's not a bad running back. Good pass catcher. And
it's fun to figure out why he's called Woody, because he just likes Toy Story.
I mean, what is it like? This generation coming up is like, call me Peppa Pig, because I just loved Peppa Pig. Whatever the show was I watched as a kid, I'm adopting that name. Like, I'm going by Woody, I'm going by Bill. That's crazy.
If I just would have gone by Green Power Ranger Borg,
right? Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize you were a green guy, Kyle.
I mean, come on, Tommy.
I pictured you more of the blue.
No, I'm not a Billy guy. Any other names?
Know the names.
Yeah, I know.
Of course,
Jason.
That should not surprise you at all, Jason.
Jason, here's where we differ. Okay. You say all those names from the past that got deleted. I wish I could delete some of those things.
You've got that vault.
the Rolodex of 90s stuff, especially the movies, kind of stays with me. Betz, any other random names you want to throw out there?
I mean, for the third year in a row, we have to throw out Kendre Miller because Devin Neal is missing time in camp with a hamstring injury. So it's a new regime, fresh start. Maybe, just possibly, Kendre can stay on the field. We'll see. And then I did want to give a bump to Cade Stover, which is probably the least exciting name in the stock today.
That is unsexy.
But there's a pretty good chance Dalton Schultz is not on this team next year. And there's a possibility he's the starting Texans tight end next year. So it's kind of more of a just stash him and see, especially if you got a spot on the end of your bench. But yeah, Cade Stover, he played linebacker for a long time at Ohio State and kind of just learned to play tight end till the tail end of his college career. The team reportedly likes him. Who knows? But if he's on your waiver wire, definitely worth a look.
And another KeAndre Lambert-Smith, Chargers rookie wide receiver. He's been big play Dre in training camp. He's looked really, really good. It's tough there. He's 6'1", 190, ran a 4.37 40, and has been completely showing out in pads, which kind of sucks because I'm such a Trey Harris fan. And I'm like, please don't overshadow my Trey Harris. But this wide receiver room, like, I love Ladd McConkey, obviously, my little lad from last year. Quentin Johnston serves a purpose in NFL circles. But if Trey Harris and KeAndre Lambert-Smith are good, and all of a sudden this receiving core can not just be a really good slot receiver and a bad outside receiver, but like give Justin Herbert weapons, that'd be very exciting.
Is he just like a different human being since he left Penn State? I remember him in college not being a thing, and then he goes to the SEC and he is a thing. Betz?
I mean, the scheme didn't help when he was at Penn State. It was very run heavy, two tight ends, didn't open it up a lot, and he wanted to go somewhere where he could be the guy, which is why he left. I'm sure there was some NIL involved there as well, but to his credit, when he got the opportunity and was the guy, he was very productive last year in the SEC. So maybe there's something there with him, who knows, but there are guys that emerge like this every year where it's like the drumbeat is just consistent week over week over week, and you saw it a little bit in the preseason. We'll see if he can carry that over into this week's game, but yeah, I mean, if this continues, there's definitely something to be excited about given the uncertainty on the depth chart as far as the Chargers behind Ladd McConkey.
All right, just one final name here. I need to mention DJ Giddens. We liked him in the prospect evaluation stuff. It seems like he's the backup with the Colts. And then I realized that I'm lying because I had a really, really deep name for the Raiders, and his name is Touchdown Tommy Mellott, who was a college quarterback turned wide receiver, could be a slot, and could not make the team. But I had to throw out his name because I spent way too much time researching and watching his film today.
That's funny. So I'm seeing this from the pit boss here. It's KeAndre? Is
Correct.
that's how you say Lambert-Smith's name? I apologize.
Correct.
I apologize to Kendre.
KLS?
Okay.
Easier.
Yeah, much easier.
All right, just make sure everybody gets KeAndre. It's Bill. It's Woody. It's the gang.
The boys. Those are the boys you need this year.
You know what those boys are nasty.
Bill is just so short and to the point. Just
Bill.
Just Bill. That's going to do it for this episode. We will be talking preseason next week, talking all the risers and fallers, different people to get you ready for your leagues. Make sure you check out all of our rankings, ultimatedraftkit.com. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.